let's dive into it. Who here likes GitLab or uses it? Let's put it that way. You don't have to like it. Just if you don't like it, then why? I don't understand. All right. So I quite like it as well. Just to give a bit of feedback, right? So talking about CI processes, these things are, we have pretty good CI setups for Julia. There's a lot of GitHub Actions and stuff like that. Why do GitLab and why should we trust you to build these types of things for us? Well, as you may have noticed, right, I've been using GitLab for a while. I'm very proud of my 4-digit user ID. You can't get those anymore. Same thing for Julia. I've been doing Julia, or not doing Julia. I've been writing Julia code since 2014, and basically building CI systems for Julia that same amount of time. Done in Jenkins, GitLab, BuildKite, GitHub. That's probably about it. So yeah, I've done this before. Also the GitLab CI processes, and I found some patterns that work really well. So I decided to implement those again, but now out in the open source system. So why not something else, right? So like, well, I don't really care, right? I like GitLab. I want this to work on GitLab, so I tried a lot of the other things. Some of the approaches that I'm taking here are just fundamentally not possible on something like GitHub. They put restrictions on things like reusable workflows and things like that just make this very hard, if not impossible, to do. So yeah, you can really make these nice composable workflows, right? Reusable CI steps, that works pretty well. I want a complete process, though. I set up tons of packages, CI for tons of packages every single day. Well, maybe not every single day, but these GitHub action steps, they're nice, but you basically end up copy pasting your setups everywhere. I don't want that. I want a single, well-versioned process that I can just, include with hopefully a couple of lines of code and just run it everywhere. And whenever I change my mind about how the process should work, I update the process, automatically update everything that depends on it, and everything is in sync again. No more, oh, I thought I had fixed this in this one repository, but it's not fixed in this other repository. Why is it not releasing? Why is, right, I see Venkatesh Prasad goes, oh yeah, I know that. So that's why I want a complete process. So for that reason, I started the Ethema organization on GitLab. It's not just about Julia. It's actually a couple of composed different processes that sort of culminate. Julia is one of the highest level processes that I have. This includes just general GitLab CI processes. For instance, right, so these pipelines or these processes are implemented in YAML files, right? They're hosted on GitLab themselves. So these are obviously, right, you're dogfooding your own stuff. So these processes are managed using the processes themselves. So you get processception. All right. There are a couple of principles that I sort of base these processes on when I built them. They have to be semantically versioned. We don't really do like incremental upgrades right now, right? It's such that you can depend on version 3 and then we'll just not break. Well, right, you can't really upgrade automatically. Every single process is semantically versioned. So if it's not a major breaking version, it's typically safe to just upgrade. You should be able to use what you need, no more, no less. We adopt convention over configuration because less configuration is more better. I know that's wrong, but it's okay. But it still needs to be configurable. And obviously, as I said, right, these Ethema processes are managed by the Ethema processes themselves. So we're dogfooding our own stuff. So as soon as something breaks, trust me, I'm the first one to know because I probably merged it, and I'm probably then the first one whose work also breaks. And it should be easily extensible. So when I talk about use what you need, no more, no less, there are actually 2 different ways of using this. I've briefly discussed that it's a complete process, but each of the individual jobs that are inside these processes can actually be, used on their own as well. I need to go faster. So what do you get? Semantic release. If you're not using semantic release, you should. If you want to know what it is, watch my talk about it 2 years ago at JuliaCon, which was online at the time. It's amazing. Use it. Been doing it for a decade. Don't want to do anything else anymore. Well, obviously, you get tests with reporting in GitLab CI, so you get nice test overviews of all the tests that ran. There's like this tests section where you can see all the assertions that ran. You get a bit of dependency management, including managing the dependencies of the processes that you depend on. So it gets a bit inception-y. You get automatic version reference updates in documentation. This is something I'm incredibly proud of, right? Typically, what you see a lot of the time is you see some documentation where something goes, install this version or install the latest version. Our documentation always just says install this version, and that version is always the most recent one, or whatever was the most recent one at the time that the documentation was written. But I never update it, goes automatically. Obviously, coverage reports, both inline on merge requests, so you get these nice little annotations in your change logs, as well as we generate dedicated HTML reports for when it's not merge requests. Code formatting, both Julia using Julia formatter and Markdown formatting, and basically anything we can find in your repo that we can format. So how do you get into this? So just a quick show of hands. How many lines of code do you think this takes to get running? 100? Anyone? Okay, I see a few. 50? 10? 5? 0? So yeah, technically you can actually make it work with 0. I wouldn't recommend it. There is a configuration on GitLab that you can just point to a very specific external pipeline. So technically it takes 0 lines of code. I probably wouldn't do it. 4 lines of code is actually what you typically would end up doing if you just take the stuff that's right off the bat. So how do you get running? You provision a token, depending on what you want it, right? It can be access, personal access token, project access token, group access tokens. Typically, they just need API access. Sometimes they need read registry access. You can have separate tokens for all the different things. You can suffice with just one. And then this is what you do. Done. You're enrolled now. It works. You get everything for free. Well, everything that's in there currently. So what else do I want to get in there? But that's currently not in there yet. I ran a little bit out of time, so Documenter isn't in yet. That's definitely coming up very soon. When you make releases, they aren't automatically published to a registry yet. That also needs to come very soon. I'm pretty sure I can get to that very soon. I just might have to harass some of my coworkers a bit to make it possible. Matrix testing, downstream testing. Compat helper isn't in there. I actually kind of would want to prefer to use Renovate, but that means I first need to implement Julia compatibility for Renovate. There's some cool stuff going on with semgrep and Jet that I would like to put in, and there's performance perf checker that I came across this week. I wanted to do a demo, but I don't have any time. So with that, if you want to see it later, just come up and I'm happy to show you. So with that, thank you. And I just want to give a shout out to the guy sitting here, Paniotis, for helping me out with the name. Ethema means community in Greek.